Hello Jefferson, this is Mrs. McCarter and this is our first video for distant learning. It will be 11.1 and you should be doing this lesson on Monday, March 16th. So you will need your Go Math book plus your Math Interactive notebook. If you were like me and left your Math Interactive notebook at school, you could start a new one. I have a blank notebook to use. If you don't have access to a notebook, just go ahead and do it on a separate sheet of paper and we can glue that down to your interactive notebook when I see you back at Jefferson. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open up to my first page. This entire notebook of mine, which is new, is going to be just measurement and geometry. So I'm going to go ahead and make that as my front cover, I guess my title page. And I'm going to turn my page over and this is going to be my table of contents. I am not exactly sure how much of the unit we're going to get through. I believe we're going to be able to get through modules 11 and 12 and not 13. We will see, but I'm going to start with angle relationships and parallel lines and triangles. And if you flip over to 11.1, that begins on page 349. And the title of this lesson is, our first lesson, Parallel Lines Cut by a Transversal. And I am going to start mine on page 1. However, if you are using the same interactive notebook that we have been using in class, I believe we're at around page 48 or 49. So you could start there, just start on the next page. I'm going to skip a few pages for our table of contents, and I'm going to number this number 1 on the bottom of this page. Parallel lines cut by a transversal. So if you take a look at our lesson, there are 4 pairs of relationships that we are going to be talking about today. We are going to put it in our interactive notebook as a reference guide when we are doing our assignments. Sometimes I let you use your notebook for a test so you can reference it on the test, or when you are studying for future tests. So we're going to begin with our 4. I am going to draw parallel lines, 4 sets again. And the easiest way to make sure that your lines are parallel is to trace the top and the bottom of a ruler. If you use a very wide ruler, you're not going to be able to fit 4 sets. So try and find the thinnest that you can. This is the thinnest that I personally have, but if the strategy doesn't work for you, you can also just trace the lines in your notebook. Okay? So here are my 4 sets of parallel lines. Here's 1. Trace the top and the bottom. They're lines, so they get arrows. Here's my second set. Third set. Oh, I forgot to trace that one. The bottom. And my 4th set. Oops, I forgot again. There we go. Okay, so a transversal is a line that cuts across both the parallel lines. I am going to draw mine as lines with a negative slope just because that's the example that they have in the book, but the transversal could be a negative slope, a positive slope. Your parallel lines could also be vertical, and then the transversal would go across in the opposite direction. But right now we're going to do ours exactly the way that it is in the book. Each set of parallel lines will have a diagonal line that runs across them. In our notebook, the first type of parallel lines cut by a transversal is called a corresponding angle. I'm going to read the definition of a corresponding angle. A corresponding angles lie on the same side of the transversal T on the same side of lines A and B. So if you take a look at this, this would be line A, this would be line B, and they lie on the same side of the transversal. So when I take a look at this, same side of the transversal would be this angle right here and this angle right here. So those are called corresponding angles. And actually, let me make that plural. The second type of angles are called alternate interior angles. And you can guess what these angles are because the words give you clues. Alternate, if you're alternating, you're taking turns. Interior means inside. So these angles would be inside the pair of parallel lines, but on opposite sides of the transversal. So an example of this would be this angle right here and this angle right here. They are alternate, means on opposite sides of the transversal, but inside the parallel lines. The third type of angles are called alternate exterior angles. Alternate, once again, meaning on opposite side of the transversal, but this time they're exterior, meaning on the outside of the parallel lines. So here is an alternate exterior angle, and here is an alternate exterior angle. And finally, our last type is same side interior angles. I did this in marker. I should have done it in pencil. That's okay. Same side, meaning they are on the same side of the transversal, but on the inside. So an example of this would be this angle and this angle. So this is a reference sheet that you can quickly go to when you're answering the questions in this lesson. Since we are not at school, we actually don't have access to this software. I actually did not pass out Patty paper to do this Explore Activity 2. So all you will be responsible for this lesson is the bottom of page 351, finding unknown angle measures. There's a QR code video. When I tried to scan it, it didn't work. So I uploaded the link to your homework on Google Classroom, and I'll put it actually in this video as well, and the link underneath. And then you will be doing page 352, 353, and 354. I look forward to replying to your emails if you have any questions, but please use this as a reference. We will be filling in our Math Interactive Notebook as we go. Thank you so much. Have a great day.